If Victor is a burn card, we're all screwed. That would be so disgusting. Here we go.
The time of machines is now.
Let me fix this. Hang on. Augment. Viktor. 4 mana. 2/4. Round start. Create a hex core upgrade in hand.
New era of technology begins.
And you have to play 8 created cards. Holy shit. 8 created cards for him to level up. That's a hard level up. Death Ray Mark II. Deal 2 to units. So that's one of his possible cards. Ooh. Oh, Mark III. Oh, it is Heimer! So it's like Heimer, but he gets spells instead of units. I knew it!
New materials, new improvements.
It's not like Heimer. He has a couple death rays.
The leader of superior intellect.
And one with an iron fist.
So here's the hex core upgrade he gets. Give Victor a random keyword. That's actually, I think that fits very well. That could be really, really scary. Your created cards cost 1 less. Iterative improvement. Pick a follower, create a copy of it in hand with +1/+1. It's not exact copy, of course. It's just a copy. But it's burst in 2 mana, which is sick. That's like a combo piece. We can use that with a lot of things. 2 mana is fairly cheap for that effect. 2 mana is fairly cheap for that effect. So let's, the way they do things here, we always have the video, and then on top of that, we're gonna get, a bunch of the full cards. So let's go ahead and take a peek at these. We're gonna look at all of them, and then we're gonna jump into our like podcast style thing. Okay. So these are all the cards so far. Viktor, we're gonna have to return to him in a bit because champions are always harder to evaluate without everything else. Every round, at the start of the round, he creates the upgrade in hand, which for 1 mana will just give him a random keyword per turn. So it's kind of like every turn he can get a random keyword and, play a created card, right? Once he levels up, his level up doesn't really do that much. His created cards cost 1 less at that point, which is pretty nice, but at that point of the game, it's not like a great, immediate reward for leveling him up. However, his true power lies in just, using a bunch of hex core upgrades, right? Because these are permanent keywords, and Viktor will, after, a few turns, can easily just, snowball in these keywords, right? He's gonna have Augment, right? He has Augment, and you're gonna be playing a lot of created cards. Of course, the hex core upgrades buff him, so he can get really big, and then all he needs is Elusive or Overwhelm, or something like that to be nuts, right? Ideally, hex core upgrade would immediately, on turn 5, give you some sustain thing, like Tough or something, and then afterwards it would give you Elusive or Overwhelm, and he levels in the deck. He doesn't have to see the created cards being played. You just have to, in that game, play 8 created cards, right? Ephemeral, presumably I'm guessing hex core upgrade can't do ephemeral. That would be a little too weak. I'm pretty sure hex core upgrade wouldn't be able to give ephemeral, because we know that patched Porobot can't give ephemeral, and I'm pretty sure it would work the same way. Now, I know that, I think the Plunder Poro can still give ephemeral. I'm pretty sure, unless they change that, or unless I'm mistaken. But Viktor, I'm sure wouldn't have that attached. Okay, Death Ray Mark I. And Mark I is apparently his champ spell. These are all fast to deal X to units. Deal 1 to a unit, and it creates a Mark II in the top 3 cards of your deck. And then Mark II creates a Mark III in the top 3 cards of your deck. And then Mark III is just 3 damage to a unit. Interesting. So, I mean, Mark II is kind of like a mystic shot. MK. Doesn't MK stand for Mark? Am I mistaken? So MK2 is a mystic shot, right? It's deal 2 to a unit at fast speed. You can't go face, of course, which does matter for sure. And on top of your deck, it generates a Mark III, right? That's pretty big. Like, deal 3 to a unit at 3 mana for fast speed is pretty solid. These are all fairly solid cards, right? The only thing is you might have to draw them a little bit early, but honestly, these Death Ray cards are pretty good. Now, keep in mind, Mark 1 is the only card that's actually main deckable. All of these cards don't have gems. The reason Mark 1 doesn't have a gem is because they're showing the champion spell version versus the non-champion spell versions. Now, I might be mistaken. There's maybe some people... it's possible that Mark 2 and Mark 3 are main deckable cards, but Mark 1, to me, this seems extremely likely that Mark 1 is the only main deckable card here, and we know that because the non-champion spell will have a gem, and that will be what draws you into Mark 2 and Mark 3. So you have to kind of chain them together to be able to get that. Which means, and this is, one of the weaker points, drawing them later is nice. If you but the thing is, Mark 1 is basically a Blade's Edge, which is not really main deckable card, right? And that's important to note, because Blade's Edge isn't great, so they're not going to be hyper amazing cards. Mostly they're going to have synergy with the augment strategy. But presumably in a Viktor deck, you would main deck 3 Mark 1 Death Rays easily. And then we've got Iterative Improvement, which is a very, very, very interesting card. Pick a follower, create a copy of it in hand with +1/+1. Now, this is not a card that's necessarily completely dependent on this archetype. We can use this in a few different ways, right? In any deck that uses followers for synergies, it's kind of like blood for blood. So, for example, imagine this in a deck that has a Yeti, right? Imagine this in a deck where we're playing Freljord, and we have some way of combining Freljord and PNZ in a mid-range capacity, which we don't really have yet, but let's imagine it. And we immediately... It's kind of like playing a 3-mana 6/6, right? Because if you have the Yeti on board already, which you often will on turn 4 or 5... then you can play this and then play a 1-mana 6/6 right after. So it's a 3-mana 6/6, right? You can trigger Nightfall with it. Triggering Nightfall with it isn't that bad. You can... It's a hand buff too, by the way, which is very interesting because there's not a lot of things in this game that buff things in the hand, right? Which means, yeah, I mean, we can use it with stuff like Counterfeit Copies as well, right? Because Counterfeit Copies has the ability to, scale off of hand buffs. We can shuffle in buffed cards. In addition to that, we can copy enemy followers. We can copy enemy followers too. So it's sort of almost like Fading Memories a bit in that way. So Iterative Improvement, I really like this as a card. You can copy Mistwraiths. Yeah, copying Mistwraiths can actually be pretty scary. Or Wraithcaller, right? Iterative Improvement is pretty good. There will be a lot of ways we can use this card. This is just a power crept blood for blood. Yeah, 100%. This is like what blood for blood has been trying to be this entire time, right? So, Iterative Improvement, I don't know if this will hit decks immediately. I don't see a deck that currently is in the metagame that this will be powerful in, but it's a card that has high potential and will be powerful, if not immediately, then at some point. It just needs to be able to find the right deck, and it's going to be great. So, anyway, going back to Viktor, we're only seeing 3 cards on this page, because Mark 1 is the real card, and Mark 2 and Mark 3 just come off of it. Viktor is just generating the hex cores, and then Iterative Improvement is the only other main deckable card here. We're only seeing 3 main deckable cards on this page. Viktor himself, a 4-mana 2/4. He's a little slow. He can level up pretty fast in a deck that's built around him, potentially. 8 created cards is still going to be pretty slow, but stuff like the Death Rays will help that a lot. And he is going to be fairly reliant on getting a decent keyword. Viktor doesn't look super amazing to me in terms of competitive viability. He's a little slow, And the hex core upgrades are obviously like gonna be a little unreliable. They can have like, when I say unreliable, that I don't mean unreliable in terms of like they're just like sort of like non-static. I just mean like the average value is probably slightly low, I'm thinking. Viktor versus Hush. Yeah, stuff like Hush, for example, will be kind of like a major cuck to Viktor, which is like that for sure. So I mean, I think he will work like pretty well in his own deck. Like it'll be like probably a non-I tier meme deck kind of thing, but still decent, still fairly fun. There might be some way to use him that I'm just not seeing. Who knows? I don't think he's an actual turn 4 play. Yeah, I mean, depending on the deck, he easily might not be. But you also need him to start augmenting for him to even be a win condition, right? And you need him to have keywords for that to happen too. Like, waiting until he's levels and then playing him doesn't really do a whole lot either. So that's my initial impressions with these cards. That overall, Viktor works well in his own kind of like sort of meme build around deck. Deathray Mark 1 fits that deck really well. Like you would auto run 3 of these in that deck for sure, because it creates a lot of these other spells that would work really well for him. Mark 1 in normal decks, honestly, I could definitely see it in like you could try running this in like, for example, Draven Ezreal. It like people have run Blade's Edge in that deck, and this is kind of like sort of potentially better Blade's Edge. Like drawing you cards that are a little bit better in some situations. So I could see messing around with experimenting, putting Mark 1 in that deck. That would be okay, but not super amazing. Iterative Improvement, huge potential card. I'm gonna have to spend a lot of time thinking about different ways to use this card. Okay. It kind of depends which keywords he cannot get. So what do you guys think? Is there anything that we really missed out on here in terms of, you know, ways to use these? Poros cost 0? Yeah, Viktor makes the Poros from Poro Cannon cost 0, which is pretty funny. His level up doesn't do shit. Yeah, his level up is, I feel like, the most awkward thing about Viktor. It feels like the rest of him is maybe okay, but the fact that his level up, you do a lot to make him level up and then it doesn't give you much back, feels pretty awkward. At some point, he will be only Spell Shield and Barrier. Yeah, I think he can only get a keyword he doesn't have already. So at that point in the game where you have the ability to, you know, like when he has all the other keywords, eventually he'll only be getting Barrier and Spell Shield, I think. Go Hard counts as created. Yeah, so there's a lot of ways to get these created keywords, right? And he does level up in hands. Like that's all true, but his level up doesn't do a whole ton. So it's not like a redeeming quality of Viktor. Can he get Ephemeral? I'm pretty sure he can't. We don't know for sure, but it's very likely he can't get Ephemeral. Like, I would be shocked if he could get Ephemeral. Demacia card that makes him unkillable. Unfortunately, Viktor doesn't represent enough of just like a way to close out the game on his own. Like, making him unkillable is pretty funny, but it's not like he's just an auto-win blowout card. Like, the rest of your strategy is going to get countered by the opponent's strategy. Go Hard. So Go Hard counts as, like, created cards. You'd be able to, you know, help level him in that way. But it's more about augment triggers with the Go Hard than anything else. A Go Hard deck wouldn't work very well with an augment deck, because Go Hard is kind of its own win condition that augment would be kind of fighting slots for, right? Go Hard decks want to be built more around the Go Hard win condition. I would definitely... I find it extremely unlikely Go Hard Augment would work very well as a deck. With Ballistic Bot, you'll get every Augment unit +2 attack for 0 mana every turn. Yeah, exactly. The Augment units will get a lot of attack very quickly. The only problem with that is that they're going to need the elusive keyword or something to be able to close out games, right? That's what we want here. We want like a cheesy, elusive, like gem deck maybe, or Draven deck where you have the axes, like something that can just make augment on elusives and close out games. And of course, you know, from like yesterday's reveals, we've got, you know, Neandroid that is augment and elusive, which works. It's a little slow. We've got stuff like Ballistic Bot, which is great augment triggers for everything else. And I think, you know, one of the best cheesy strategies here is just using Give It All to give everything elusive and hit like a big OTK with that, right? Give It All is so important for a Viktor deck. Yeah, I think I would actually feel like Give It All is one of the more competitive ways of playing this deck. I know that sounds like a weird claim, because Give It All is not really seen as a super competitive card, but I think as one of the few ways to... So Viktor, the thing about an augment deck is we lack a win condition, right? And we want like a cheesy blowout win condition to be able to effectively kind of carry the rest of the package. Because when we look at the augment playstyle, we're not doing a good job at disrupting the opponent's strategy, and we're not really doing a good job at putting pressure. So what we really need is like a cheesy OTK blowout that might be kind of unreliable, but also just has a chance of stealing a decent amount of games. And that's the kind of thing that I think is going to work best for this deck, right? In terms of maximizing the win rate. Piltover University card costs 0. Costs 0? What do you mean? I feel like maybe you're referring to the fact that the cards it generates for you all cost 1 less each. University creates cards that will cost 1 less. Yeah, but that's not 0. Howling Abyss Champs would be 0 cost. Guys, Viktor is not ASOL. He doesn't make the cards cost 0. If Viktor dies, he loses all the keywords. Yeah, he should. It would have to say, like, grant all Viktors everywhere a keyword for other Viktors to then, you know, get them back. Why the hell does he not make the cards cost 0? I mean, I kind of agree. Like, that, there's a chance that would be a little OP, but his level up is currently pretty underwhelming right now. If these reveals go like last ones, we get Riven's followers tomorrow, since the Targon champion Soraka was the last one. That's a pretty good theory. I like that theory. Makes a lot of sense to me. There's a lot of weird combos we can do with this. Like, iterative improvement can be used in so many different ways. I calculated that if you use Counterfeit on Get Excited and Mystic Shot, you can deal 17 damage Nexus on 13 mana turn. 4 mana for Viktor and 11 mana for Nexus damage spell, OTK Mage and LOR. But you don't get anything for killing them in 1 turn. You could just kill them over 2 turns and do it sooner. Why are all the Call of the Mountain champs lame? I will say, like, Viktor does feel kind of underwhelming. Like, I liked the reveals yesterday. It felt like there was a lot you can do with them. And I really love iterative improvement. I feel like Viktor is fairly pigeonholed into a pretty specific deck. Like, you kind of have to build the all-in just create deck to be able to run him. And on top of that, it does feel like I don't think he gives the deck the win condition that it really needed to feel like it, you know, worked as a viable deck. Death Ray sucks. It should just create the next Death Ray. What do you mean it should just create the next? Oh, you mean it should create it in hands? You mean? Ooh, that would be kind of broken. What? He creates discard fodder for Teemo to cycle. So honestly, one of the best things about Viktor is the fact that we can discard the Hex Core upgrades. Like, that's really nice. So he's kind of like a really bad chump wump. Good, great. Like, yes, I do like that we can discard these. Amazing. But, I mean, we have a lot of things that do that. His level up is just a card discount. Yeah. If he kept his keywords, he would be broken. You mean replaying more Viktors and getting the keywords? I don't know if I'd say broken, but it would feel like he'd be harder to evaluate or have kind of like more of a position in the meta. Yeah, 100%. Like, we'll see. What else? What else? Imagine if Aurelion Sol just made Celestials cost -1 XD. Yeah, I think so. Someone thinks Viktor is bad. Okay, so he will be S plus tier when the expansion comes out. It's very possible. Like, my predictions have not been super accurate overall, right? Like, a lot of that is just like the super early predictions. When we had like the initial launch of the set, my predictions were really bad back then. They've gotten better recently, but I mean, obviously Tom Kench was one that I undervalued from the last expansion. And who knows? I mean, there could be maybe there's something big I'm missing, and this could be a Tom Kench scenario. It's very possible. Like, I can't rule it out. Shame you can't use hex core upgrade on anything else. Yeah, that would actually be kind of nice. Like, if you could just give target this whatever a random keyword, I feel like that would be kind of more scalable or more interesting. Like you could, I feel like you could use it in more different ways. Death ray looks bad. It's not great, I think. All right.